So, I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years and it turns out she's been cheating on me for months. I found solid proof videos, photos, and messages. She's juggling 2 relationships with 2 different guys. I'm not even sure if the other guy is aware of me. Honestly, I'm not feeling hurt or angry about it. It's only been a week since I found out and she has no clue that I know. She still treats me like her boyfriend. Right now, we're tied up in a financial situation that I'm trying to untangle, which is going to take some time. Her family knows about the other guy but kept it from me. I'm just puzzled as to why she hasn't ended things with me. I don't owe her anything and she doesn't owe me either. There's no money involved between us, I'm just playing the boyfriend role. Staying in this relationship seems pointless, yet she continues to lie to me as if I'm the only one. I can't wrap my head around why she still wants me around. I could really use some advice. I did confront her, but I didn't let on that I knew anything. I asked her questions about her feelings for me, if she'd ever hurt me, and so on, in a way that didn't raise any suspicions. I even brought up some photos from events where the other boyfriend was present. She showed me some, but only the ones she wanted me to see, not from her gallery. She lied without missing a beat, but then said something that caught me off guard. That I deserved better. When I asked if that meant I should leave, she insisted I shouldn't go, even though she said I deserved better. I recorded part of our conversation. I gave her a peck on the cheek instead of the usual kiss on the lips, and she immediately picked up on something being off. I told her I was feeling under the weather and asked her to sort out the money issues, even though I had already taken care of it myself. I felt free from her hold and asked her to text me when she got home. She never did, so I decided to block her on everything. There was no point in confronting her, she would just lie, gaslight me, or get angry. She was fully aware of her actions but still wanted me around. She admitted to being selfish and had a pretty bleak view of men, calling them all trash. She claimed to be a feminist, but her actions didn't match that. I suspect she had a fight with her other boyfriend, which is why she was in a bad mood. I did a little snooping on social media before blocking her, and it's amusing how she turned to me. Honestly, I'm not hurt or heartbroken. This experience hasn't changed my views on women or relationships, especially since I was looking for something long-term. I'm just glad I figured things out before getting too deep. All those red flags she threw up now make sense, and I realize why I often felt unhappy and misunderstood. I feel relieved that my instincts were right about her. She brought negative vibes while I was all about the positive. I've learned a lot from this, and I came across a quote that really resonates with me. The truth is, if someone wants to cheat, they will. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Cheating is a sign of weakness, insecurity, and disloyalty. On the flip side, strong, confident, and loyal people communicate like adults to resolve issues when they're not happy. Coach Corey Wayne really nailed it. She never opened up about her problems, but I did. I hope this post can offer some useful advice or insights for anyone out there. Wishing you all the best. I asked her why she said I deserved better, and I got the same old line I expected. The lie. I won't go into details since it's not worth it. I definitely picked the wrong girl to be with. I pointed out the red flags I noticed, and she always had a response. She was aware of what she was doing, and I bet she's pulled this before. Thankfully, she never asked for money, just small favors here and there. Everything from our romantic life to our intimacy seemed normal, just as she described. Happy and comfortable. We weren't lacking in that department or constantly fighting. It was a straightforward relationship, and I missed the signs that something was off. My gut was telling me something, but my mind said to just wait and see. Now I know to really vet my partners after this experience. Of course, I feel some disappointment over what went down. I genuinely cared for her and her family, doing a lot to show it, gifts from the heart, taking her to appointments, events, and just being there for her. But I've been cheated on before, and that hurt a lot. I learned a lot about myself and my feelings, which is why I'm not sad or depressed now. Moving on takes time, but I realize I didn't lose her, she lost me. I know my worth, and she took me for granted. I didn't deserve her at all. I deserve better. I think I was more unhappy with her than I realized, and I didn't see that she was the cause. This isn't my fault at all. Honestly, I feel a weight lifted off my shoulders, and that's the truth. She would sometimes admit to being selfish, but we always laughed it off. Most of our relationship was all about having a good time. When things got serious, they really got serious. Still, there were moments when I sensed something was off. I should have recognized those as warning signs. I had all the means to dig deeper, but I chose to look the other way. Even if I had uncovered something, she would have definitely had a ready excuse. I needed solid proof to back up my suspicions, and I'm relieved to say I finally found it. It's only been a few days, but I bet she noticed my silence, since it's unusual for me to disappear like this. But honestly, I wouldn't know she's blocked. I wouldn't be surprised if one of her family members reaches out to me eventually. If they do, I'll either tell them the truth or ask them to leave me alone. I have no idea how she'll react when she finds out why things went down the way they did, and honestly, I don't care. I don't even recognize her anymore, and her feelings are irrelevant to me. She can vent to her family or her other boyfriend for all I care. I'm done with it all. You did an awesome job prioritizing yourself. Don't give them closure. If you can move on without it and they can't, you've won. It's not really a competition, but it's definitely better to come out on top. I think your approach is spot on. Wishing you nothing but the best. Things will only improve from here. Good luck and keep your head up. Story 2. We tied the knot in 2000, had 2 kids, and generally enjoyed a happy life as a working couple. Right after we got married, she had a brief affair, but we managed to work through it and move forward. A few years back, though, I noticed her interest in our relationship started to fade. Whenever I tried to talk about it, she'd say it was just the stress from work and the kids. For a few days, she'd give me some extra attention, and then it would go back to normal. The turning point came on Valentine's Day in 2020. We had planned a cozy cooking night at home, but when I got back from work, she was missing. I checked her location on Find My iPhone and saw she was at her favorite restaurant. She came home later, drunk, and passed out. I took a peek at her phone and found messages between her and the other guy. We had always shared our passcodes. But she had been super careful about keeping her phone close and deleting their chats right away. This time, though, she missed a few because she was drunk. Plus, it was the first time in years she left her phone unattended. Usually, it was glued to her side, even in the shower. For years, she had been sleeping with it under her pillow. Now, I had proof of the affair and knew who the other guy was, her colleague, who's also married. I decided not to confront her immediately because I was starting to realize she had become quite the skilled liar. Whenever she had to explain where she was, she could whip up a believable excuse on the spot. I didn't expect much from confronting her, other than being hit with a mountain of lies, like it was just a harmless flirtation or a one-time slip-up. I really needed to figure out how deep this affair went. I had a gut feeling about it already, but I wanted proof. So, I hired a private investigator and set up some security cameras outside my place to catch who was coming and going. The PI managed to get security footage from her go-to restaurant that went back over a year. I often caught snippets of her chatting on the phone at home when she thought I wasn't around. The info was pouring in like a fire hose. By that time, their affair had been going on for 3.5 years. They were secretly bragging about keeping it under wraps from their spouses for so long. Their attitude was that if their partners hadn't figured it out, it was their own fault for not catching on. More and more details kept surfacing. She had a thing for unprotected sex, got pregnant by the other guy, and had an abortion. They were sneaking around for quickies during lunch, having phone sex when they couldn't meet up, and trash-talking everyone in their lives. I was blown away by how much disdain she had for even her closest friends who adored her. She had a massive circle of friends, but aside from her brother, parents, and 2 kids, she seemed to hold nothing but contempt for everyone else. I've always seen her use her charm to get what she wanted, whether it was validation, companionship, or just to manipulate her friends into doing her bidding. I was pretty blindsided when I finally uncovered her true self, especially since my grasp of narcissism was pretty basic back then. The private investigator even shared names of other affairs she had or was still involved in. For instance, she had an affair with her boss, among others. Just when I thought I had seen it all, a shocking twist came my way. I stumbled upon messages between her and her affair partner that talked about poisoning someone's food. Out of the blue, she started cooking for me, even though we hadn't spoken in weeks. The moment I caught wind of the talk about slaughtering, I stopped eating anything she made. I only touched the food meant for the whole family, and even then, I wouldn't eat if everyone else had already dug in. The first mention of slaughtering was so subtle that it felt like a gut instinct to be cautious. I thought I was being ridiculous and paranoid. But soon enough, their discussions escalated into heated arguments, and the subtlety was gone. Her affair partner was pushing her to take action against me, and she was frustrated, saying she didn't know how to poison the entire meal. I immediately cancelled my life insurance. My mental health had been on a downward spiral for a while, and I was really struggling to keep it together. There was no point in sticking around any longer. So, after months of silence, I finally talked to her. I told her it was time to start thinking about our divorce and that I was aware of her affair. I quickly laid out 4 or 5 things that she would never have imagined anyone besides her and the other person could know. I wrapped it up by saying my decision to divorce was absolutely final. As soon as I finished, her eyes went wide and she looked completely shocked. That whole conversation lasted just 2 minutes and it marked the end of a 20-year relationship. Prologue. It's been 22 months since that day and 10 months since the divorce was officially done. My daughter stays with me half the time, while my son lives with my ex-wife full-time. My son found out about the affair on his own after visiting her workplace and seeing them being overly friendly. After the divorce, he asked me if his suspicions were right and I confirmed it without going into details. He also told my daughter about the affair. Child support is pretty tough where I live, and even though I make a decent salary, I'm barely getting by. I'm focusing on my physical and mental health, had a couple of short relationships since the divorce, and I'm hoping to find someone long-term. Every morning, I wake up grateful to be alive and mentally stable. I feel a sense of calm that I haven't felt in a long time. For the first time in ages, I'm at peace with everything. Stop giving financial support to the woman who betrayed you. It's great to see that, despite the tough times, you're focusing on what really matters. Story 3. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and my ex-wife is 35. Let's call her my ex, and my neighbor is the guy who was involved. His wife, who we'll refer to as M, is 37. My ex and I tied the knot in 2009, and we welcomed our baby in 2010. In November 2010, while my ex was asleep, a flirty message popped up on her phone. I took a peek and saw it was from our neighbor. I ended up going through all their messages, which were filled with digital flirting, sharing drinks, and even planning hotel meetups. This had been happening since the first week of our marriage, and it felt like my whole world just shattered. I took screenshots of everything and saved them on my phone. The next day, I reached out to M to let her know about the affair. She and my neighbor had been married for 4 years and had their first baby around the same time we did. I confronted my wife and told her I was filing for divorce. She broke down and cried, but I wasn't swayed. I even did a paternity test on our son since the timeline of the affair matched up with when he was conceived. 2 days later, I came home from work to find our baby crying in bed and my ex nowhere in sight. I discovered a letter from her saying she didn't love me anymore and had left with a neighbor. She told me not to contact them. I had a feeling this was coming, but I couldn't believe a mother would leave her 6-month-old child alone to run off with someone else. I then went to M's house, and it turned out she had received the same letter from her husband. I felt really bad for her since she was dealing with postpartum depression after just having a baby a few months earlier and now found herself all alone. So, the paternity test results came back and it turns out he is my son. I tried reaching out to my ex's family, but they were just as clueless about her whereabouts and were shocked by her actions. Her dad even said that if she ever showed up again, she wouldn't be welcome at their home. They pretty much cut ties with her. Elle was amazing through all of this. She started coming over to help with the kids and even breastfed both of them, mine and hers. As time went on, we became like a real family. My son called her mom and only knew her as his mother. We even started going on dates. A year later, we got engaged and tied the knot in 2013. Our first child arrived in 2015. We often talked about our exes and how they had disrespected us. We were a happy family. Then in 2018, my son stumbled upon a picture of my ex-one from right after he was born, so it had all of us in it. We decided it was time to tell him that his birth mother had passed away in a car accident years ago and that Elle had been taking care of him since he was 6 months old. Just 2 days ago, I got an anonymous email. When I opened it, it said, "I want to see my son and want my family back." We're not divorced yet and I immediately knew it was my ex. I showed the email to Elle. She started panicking and asked if I would consider taking her back. I calmed her down and reassured her that my ex was just a bad chapter in my life and I would never leave her. I have no intention of going back to my ex. Now I'm stuck on what to do. I definitely don't want to take her back, but should I let her meet my son? Should I give him the chance to connect with his birth mother? So much has happened since then. I hesitated to share this update because a lot of people in the comments thought it was all made up. Up until now, I've been getting updates, so I thought I'd fill you all in. We didn't need to go to court or hire a lawyer. Some of you mentioned that she wouldn't have any parental rights over my son since she left us years ago. To check this out, I reached out to a lawyer friend of mine and he confirmed that she could face serious consequences like hefty fines, losing her parental rights, and even jail time. I explained how long she had been absent and asked about my chances in the situation. He told me that if a parent doesn't make any effort to contact their child for over a year, there's a 99% chance they'll lose their parental rights. Hearing that was such a relief. I also started therapy with my son so I can eventually share the truth about his biological mother. Curious about why she reached out after a decade, I messaged her dad, who's still a close friend and gives me solid advice, to see if she had been in touch with her family. It turns out she had been asking her sister for money occasionally over the years, but now her sister is done helping because she's asking for more than she's willing to give. I asked about her situation and whether it would be a good idea to introduce her to my son. He told me she's working a minimum wage job and living in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates. Hearing that made me feel a bit sorry for her, but she brought it on herself. He advised against introducing her to our son, saying she could have a negative impact on him. After that, I called her sister to find out what their conversations had been like over the past decade. She filled me in on everything. Her ex only contacted her for cash, claiming she had no money left for groceries or bills after paying rent. He never asked about our son, just about the money. When I asked her about the relationship between her ex and the other person, she told me he's been in prison for sexual abuse since 2015. I can't explain it, but I felt a bit relieved hearing that. I also wanted to know if her ex was aware of the divorce. She said he has no clue and still thinks they're legally married. I encouraged her to fill him in on everything. I told her to mention the divorce, child custody, my new family, and that he has no claim over our son. I shared all this with Em, and she was taken aback by how careless the ex was. She never imagined a mother could be so indifferent to her child. Em was also stunned to hear about the other person. It's been a month and the ex hasn't reached out to us. Family counseling is going really well and we've decided to adopt each other's kids legally. I doubt the ex will make contact since her sister probably informed her about her legal standing and she wouldn't want to waste money on a lawyer. If anything changes, I'll keep you all posted. Your ex seems to be all about her own needs, just looking for a place to crash. Her desperation made her reach out to you. It's awesome that you're taking the initiative to find out more about her situation through mutual acquaintances. You seem to have a solid grip on things with your family. Just be careful about involving your ex and possibly upsetting the balance you've created. Wishing you all the best moving forward and stay strong. Thank you for watching this video. For more content like this, subscribe. I post